All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking real music in real time for a few real people just like you and just like me. So Kid Rock did the unforgivable. He spoke to Tucker Carlson in an interview. Now, this video is obviously going to go down the rabbit trail of politics and music and the very opinionated and just sometimes out of proportion, ridiculous things that the rock media will say about somebody who doesn't follow their line of thinking. And what's odd is they keep doing this over and over again. Like that's going to spike their readership. Maybe it does because it gets people ticked off. So they can leave some nasty comments or they can read it and then do what I'm doing now, highlighting the stupidity of it. But it really does show the world what, the supposed rock community, the rebellious rockers, what they're truly all about, right? Dunk on Ted Nugent, dunk on Kid Rock, dunk on Eric Clapton, dunk on Aaron Lewis, Travis Tritt, who's actually, not in the rock community. But it's madness here. And what they're keying on here is that, he has this conversation with Tucker Carlson. He admits to golfing with Donald Trump. Now, again, Trump, not my favorite person on planet Earth. But again, if you want somebody who will at least try to manage the chaos of what is our economy and what is our foreign policy, and I can go down the list, our monetary policy, on and on. He's not perfect. I'm not saying he's perfect. I'm not apologizing for his life that he lived prior to becoming president of the United States. But guess what? Kid Rock had a conversation with Donald Trump on the golf course. Can the current president even play golf? Can Brandon play golf? Just curious. I've never seen him on a golf course, right? I mean, Trump physically isn't necessarily in better shape than the current so-called CEO of this country, right? But I don't know. I'll leave it up to the experts, right? How come Joe Biden never plays golf? Well, he's just so busy. He's so busy that we don't see him after 5 p.m. in the afternoon. All right, I made my point there, okay? I'm just letting the audience know that it's really a matter of how bad you want to get beaten up every day economically in this country and with propaganda each day. And I find that there is way more propaganda out there apologizing for all of these crappy things that have happened the last 2 or 3 years, right? And yeah, Trump was in office when some of this happened. And, you can make arguments about how he handled things. The point I'm trying to make is you can't have an alternate view within the rock world on these topics, or you get toasted. You get articles like, oh, so Trump was asking Kid Rock about foreign policy, like what he should do in North Korea. And they spun it. Of course, they spin the wheel. The spin cycle is on. And guess what they came up with? Well, sounds like Trump was asking Kid Rock advice on North Korea. And they were having a conversation like, what do you think of North Korea? And Kid Rock said, well, I don't know, so that was like the big, the big storyline that we had to focus on, that Trump and Kid Rock are talking about foreign policy. And can you imagine if Joe Biden, Joe Biden might want to start asking some celebrities, some rock stars about foreign policy. He might actually help him, even if they don't know what they're talking about. It's about the same level here, Well, the president has advisors and, he's not, shut up, okay? I already know this, all right? What's ridiculous about all this is that this was probably one of those things where Trump was just, making conversation, and he's, in the midst of maybe negotiations at the time, and he listens to everybody. Now, again, Kid Rock didn't give him any advice, but the media is making it sound like, well, Trump was asking him, which shows you how stupid Trump is for asking Kid Rock about North Korea, right? Who cares? It's just Kid Rock didn't give him advice, but if he had done it and Trump did something that reflected, would they blame Kid Rock? Would they blame Trump for being stupid for taking his advice? The whole thing, quite honestly, is just stupid. All right. And, we'll talk about music at some point here, but what's really important is Trump and Kid Rock. Well, Kid Rock has a new album coming out. Do you care? Not really, because we know it's just going to be blasting our point of view. He basically, Kid Rock, in an interview recently says, I don't give a bleep about what anybody thinks of me. And really, that's kind of the attitude that you need to have in order to survive if you don't believe what they're selling. Do you believe anything that the media or the government says? Seriously, do you believe it? You just take it on face value? You don't actually do some research away, independent sources, people who actually don't have an inherent bias to everything. And even if they have a bias, there have been great investigative reporters, both on the left and on the right, who are skeptical of a narrative and want to get to the truth. We don't have that anymore in this country, though. What we have is this ambush journalism. It's Kid Rock and Donald Trump. They actually hang out together. And that shows you how bad Kid Rock is as a person. And that probably means his music is bad. And everybody he associates with is also bad. And you got this cancellation thing that starts to occur. It's like a domino effect, which ends up being cancel culture on steroids. And look, I don't like talking about cancel culture, but if you can't say what you want to say without getting ridiculed or made fun of, or all of these assumptions, and then it becomes personal, like personal attacks. Yeah, okay, you can disagree with me. You can disagree about this video. That's fine. But at the end of it all, the personal attacks, that's just not good for anybody. That's not good for anybody. You could say, look, I don't agree with this guy, Kid Rock. Let's talk about his music instead, or let's just move on. You could say he's got strong, pro-America views, right? He likes the country, and that's a problem for you people, even though you're fine with America doing its imperialism all over the globe, and you support that, even though the rock community used to be really rebellious against that stuff. In fact, 40, 50 years ago, all the leftists were out there preaching against the stuff that we're doing now. But those same people who have aged and something's happened to their brains, I could make a real comment here about Pfizer, but I won't. But something happened to their brains, and now they're unable to process that same information, which has only gotten more extensive over the last 50 years. But 50 years ago, they could see what we were doing. Today, they don't seem to see it. So, and you know what? Kid Rock, Donald Trump, and me, we would disagree on foreign policy. I guarantee you. I am not on board with moving troops into places and starting, World War III. I think that's a really bad idea. But apparently, we're going headlong right into that conflict. And people need to pray that cooler heads and diplomacy will actually happen. It's not flashy. It's not glamorous. It's not Brian Williams watching bombs explode. But guess what? It's the way we should be doing it. And we should do it now. We should pump the brakes on all of this. I'll just say it. It's like jingoism. That's what it is. I know people don't even, that word has lost a lot of its meaning over time because it used to be thrown around a lot. But that's what this is. And why cooler heads aren't prevailing, I don't know. In any event, it doesn't matter what Kid Rock said to Donald Trump on the golf course. It really doesn't. It's not the measure of how talented an artist is. And I would say that even if I disagreed with what Gene Simmons says. At one point, Gene Simmons was really talented. And in fact, as a businessman, as a promoter, as a marketer, he's pretty talented, right? But I don't agree with almost anything he says. But I can at least acknowledge that he has business acumen and his brain is filled with knowledge. I'm not sure if that knowledge is being applied appropriately, but you know, we just take him at his word. We take Kid Rock at his word, and you just move on with life, I hope. In any event, it would be nice if rock publications in general would be a little less like they want to pounce on the person who doesn't hold their narrative together. But then again, like I say, a lot of these companies, media companies, were getting paid off in the last 2 years, and they were getting, you know, extra support for throwing out more information and basically whitewashing, brainwashing, doing what these people, I guess, are really good at now. Even the style of writing they're taught is very, I don't know, it obfuscates reality. It promotes some other thing that they're trying to convey. They'll take a story like, for instance, the truckers. You know, there was a story, my local news reported that the so-called Freedom Convoy had reached Washington, D.C. The so-called. No, they called themselves the Freedom Convoy. So how is it the so-called? Because you don't recognize it? See, you could call something, you know, I don't know, the Veterans Day Parade, right? It's the so-called Veterans Day Parade. No, it's Veterans Day and there's a parade. Hence, it's a Veterans Day Parade. This is how all of this is being unraveled and shredded, and everything is out of context and designed to basically make you very frustrated and want to throw in the towel. Well, Kid Rock, he's not one of those guys who is about to throw in the towel. He and Ted Nugent, they're friends, and I can see why, because they're both Motor City madmen. That's the reason they're friends, and it's good that there's at least a couple of guys in the world who have a different perspective on things. Even if you don't agree with it, it's good that people have different perspectives. All right, so that's my video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Patreon for just $1 a month, people. I've got some new patrons coming on board, and I really appreciate that. My other channel, believe it or not, it's called the Real Media Observer. You can link it off of the banner on this channel, and that one is more straight up politics. That one is very offensive, and it really challenges even my own orthodoxy each day when I'm over there doing videos, because I'm like, am I really this crazy? Am I really this out of alignment with all the narratives I hear each day? The answer to that is yes, and you'll have to check it out in order to find out the mindset of yours truly when it comes to today's politics without the music content added. All right, folks, I'm done. See you soon.